Good day everyone, we are now again into our course Purposive Communication, and last meeting we have discussed about oral presentation, speech presentation, or talk. And we are more than into the practicalities of our course. We are looking into or steering down into how we apply our learnings, how we apply our concepts, which I have reminded you back then, even in the first meeting that we have had when I have introduced this course. And now we are into the second part on how we use communication for various purposes, such as debate. Okay, so we are now into the debate. I know for sure that when we say debate, some of you would still be grounded or be anxious about things on what to say, especially that this is a speaking activity wherein it tests your mind, your skill, your communication skill specifically, and then your intuitive thinking and your critical and logical thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite you to our next discussion under communication for various purposes, the debate. First off, we need to define what is debate. Of course, we still need to look into the bird's eye view of the definition of debate. Says here in our slide that debate is an exchange of arguments which follows a certain procedure or a set of rules and has a definite format. Take note, let's dissect the definition or the first definition of debate given herewith. We have this one, exchange of arguments. Okay, take note that debate is a speech activity which includes interlocutors. We will be introducing that later on. I would not like you to be pacified of things, but we'll be introducing the two sides of the debate. Okay, exchange of arguments from the two sides, and which is followed by a procedure. It has methodology, or it has certain steps or certain procedures or methods to follow, because this is still a formal type of communication and it has set rules. Take note of that. When we say debate, it is not into the formality. Doesn't mean that when we argue with our friends, that is exactly the definition of debate. But in here, in this course, we highlight that debate has rules. Okay? So it has definite format, it has definite steps to do it. Of course, more into the definition of debate, debate is carried out in a formal manner and usually takes place in a public meeting. Okay? Debate is not just for the informal context, but debate could be in a formal context. Get it? Debate could be formal or informal. Formal debates could be held in a formal setting, of course. That's why it's called formal, basically, because it is held in a formal setting, in a formal atmosphere or formal context. Say, for example, it is held in the school for competitions of debates, such as what had happened in your Nurses Week. We also have debates in the House of Representatives, maybe of bills of law, arguments of law of bills. Okay, next is debates from and among the senates. Okay, wherein says here debaters should come prepared and equipped with knowledge. Okay, prepared and equipped with knowledge so that they would be able to reason out effectively. Okay, because in debate, as I've said, it is a throwing of ideas by and by from the different sides or from the two sides of those who are taking a formal argument. Okay, of course, a topic is debated upon and the debater listen to the argument raised by the other debaters, from which they can build their arguments and argue their positions. So let me highlight the two sides of debate. We have the affirmative side and the negative side. Okay, the affirmative side from which they may be agreeing of the topic, and for the negative side for which they are deterring or they are disagreeing with the concept or the topic they are discussing. Okay, again, affirmative side and the negative side. In debate class, there's a need for us to listen carefully to the statements being thrown by our opposing side, because we need to elucidate well their point so that we would know where we could anchor or where we could root our statements while we are butting into the process of debate. And it is important that when we are having our debate class, we have our note takers, we have the pen, and we have with us our notebooks wherein we could write some of the highlights our opposing sides are actually throwing us, so that we would know where and when and what to battle. Take note of that. There's a need for us to listen attentively and intently so that we would know what, where, and when to attack and when to throw our statements and our frame proposition. Okay, so I'm now giving you some tips, but we are still here in the types of debate. By and by, I could give some tips by means of our discussion. So next would be the informal debate. Okay, for informal debate, it doesn't follow strict structure actually, but for formal, of course, it follows strict structure and methodologies. It follows steps. There's a need for us to abide into those rules, because some of the organizers in a debate competition would look into some rules where both sides of the debaters would cling and would argue because of its formality. But for informal type of debate, it doesn't follow any strict structure. Okay, while there are actually two sides, as I've said a while ago, affirmative and negative, it takes place wherever and does not have any involved in the two teams. Running away from this topic, informal debate may take place between these two or more people arguing for any or for things against a certain issue. Okay, for informal debate, two individual may have an argument. That's informal debate already. But for formal debate, I think there's a need for you to have your companion when you have, for example, for debates happening in school, just like what had happened in your nurses week, we have 3 participants. Okay, but for informal, just 2 could give us a cue that it is actually a debate, just as they are having their arguments, just such as your friends or such as you and your friend having an argument with each other on what to pick or select in your break time. Okay, an example, as I've said, you and your friend deciding what to eat in your lunch or where to eat your lunch. Is it inside the vicinity of the school, or shall you take an order or have an order in Food Panda or outside? So that's just a simple informal debate. Okay, take note, when we say formal, we are observing strict rule and abiding into the methodology set so that it would be more professional by appeal. But for informal, it happens at any time so long as argument is present at that point. Speaking of debate, since we are now discussing it, I know this could be the most exciting part of our discussion, looking into the skills we need to be articulate in a debate. Okay, so this time, let's look into some skills to hone our capabilities and competence when we would want to compete in a debate. Okay, says here by Krishnamurti that it is a waste of energy when we try to conform to a pattern. To conserve energy, we must be aware on how we dissipate energy. Okay, let us relate this quotation said by Krishnamurti in a debate. Okay, in a debate, it is not just necessary for us to speak and speak that we know how to speak. Okay, we know how to speak. Just like what I've said a while ago, there's a need for us to look into those three things. We know what to speak, we know how to speak, and we know when to speak. That's the highlight of debate. Simplifying it, again, we should know how, the steps and procedures, if there are rules. We should know when to attack our statements or throw our propositions and arguments, and we should know what, okay, what to throw. Okay, what are the skills needed for us to become an effective debater? Okay, first off is reading. Okay, reading. As we have highlighted with our oral presentation, there's a need for us to read and read. Of course, in a debate, we should also read, and read. Why? Because, saying it again, many are the things we may say if many are the things we have read. Repeating, many are the things we may say if many are the things we have read. Do not undermine or undervalue the things that you have read, because they might be the accounts in your schema which you can throw to your opposing team. Says Francis Bacon, one of my favorite authors or writers, reading keepeth a full man, but writing an exact man. Okay? After reading also, as I've said a while ago, there's a need for you to write those things, because they say writers are actually historians. Okay? Says here, class, your knowledge of things is not restricted to a single perspective but to many when you read. Okay? Of course, if there are things that you have read, there are lots of references. Many or widen would be your perspective. You will not just be focusing to a single concept, okay, but you will have the comparison of the different ideas you have read. So many are the things that you may perceive, and many are the things that you may state and you may correlate when you have read different sources and different books and so many articles. Okay, you are able to weigh things more objectively because you have gained deeper understanding of life. Our professor once let us debate in the classroom about the accounts of Pigafetta and other accounts on the first ever mass held in the country. Is it in Masawa or Limasawa? So if you have read a lot, many are the things you might say or state because of the different preferences you have read. It's like that, okay? Reading, we need to read and read. And of course, you are more objective if you have read lots of things, okay? Because you have different criteria based on this, based on that, specific laws, articles, factual readings, okay? Such is the beauty of being a book lover or passionate reader. So there's a need for us to become bookworm. When we say bookworm, you are a book lover, a voracious reader, and you would love to read and read. You are passionate in reading because you know for sure that it deepens your understanding of different perspectives. That's why you read, and read. So that's the first skill you must master: reading. Next skill, of course, this is a debate. As I've said, this is a communicative activity. Therefore, there's a need for us to speak. Of course, we should be adept on how to speak. Okay? You being a voracious reader or a bookworm will certainly manifest by the way you speak. Okay? So if you have read a lot, as I've said, you may state a lot or you may say a lot of things. When you speak, always remember that you should articulate your thoughts very well. Of course, this is a communicative activity. You need to pronounce clearly words to utter, use appropriate rates of volume, speak with grammatical accuracy, of course. Those are competence in language, okay? And you need to maintain correct bearing or poise. That gives you confidence actually if you have correct poise and bearing. And employ also non-verbal code, but not violent and not insulting gestures, maybe, or non-verbal codes. Facial expressions are very important also, and your movements. Okay? Second is speaking. The first one is reading. Moving on to the next, writing. Says here it is in the writing skill where the making of full man is achieved. Okay? If you have read things, you know how to comprehend, you know how to understand and decode the meanings, then you know how to say it or state it. More to that, you know how to write it, and you know how to compose more of the ideas because of what you have read and you have speak. Okay? So, or that maketh you, says here. So that maketh you, or that makes you a full man. In debate also, there's a need for us to master writing. There's a need for us to bring with us at least a short scratch or a paper where we could write highlights of the things that were being thrown to us so that we would know our directions as to where shall we going on the topics and where shall we throwing things or ideas. Okay? Of course, this is a debate. You are not just charged to speak, and speak. As I've said, you are not just merely speaking here. It doesn't mean that you are good at speaking. You are a good debater. There's a need for you to listen also. Jimi Hendrix once said, knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. Okay? You might have a lot of things in your mind, but there's a need for you to listen, because it is by listening that sometimes we bear wisdom, and that could be higher than that of knowledge. Okay, in debate, there's a need for us to listen. You need to give or spare time to your opposing team so they could speak also and state their points, or they could give their stand on things or viewpoints on things, while you should also listen. Okay, or while you are listening. There are ethical considerations for us while we are doing debate, whereas ethics, I know for sure you know what is ethics, is a set of constructions that guides our decision making by providing standards of behaviors telling us how we ought to act. Okay, first off, ethics may be thought as a complex foundation of morality based on rules as might be adhered to within a culture or a group. So should there be things that we could consider under our ethical considerations when we are doing debate? Are there things that we need to at least resist, or are there things that we need not to mention because it's not actually related to the topic? That's why there are arguments that are unnecessary. Okay, remember argumentum ad baculum, argumentum misericordiam. Those are things that sometimes are not related, but because of the fact that you cannot throw anymore your stand and you don't have a stand at all, okay, or you lose your stand and then you attack them by means of their personality, of the things they have said, of the things of the authority you were given. Okay, so there's a need for us to look into morality and rules. Okay, we are not demeaning any people. Okay, we are not deteriorating their culture, their language. Okay, so take note of that. One example would be a debater imitating how his opposing side speaks. Okay, so that's a no-no in debate. Okay, so be formal, stay professional when you're having debate, especially in a formal type of debate. Okay, next, ethics may provide specific guidelines for individuals or groups engaged in similar activities in which occupational concerns, for example, business ethics or sportsmanship. There's a need for you to stay low and stick to your ground, or do not leave your humble ground when you are having debate. Okay, whether you lose or win, be humble and stick to where you are when you are having a debate. Business ethics also is very important. Are there set rules that they are observing? Should not be touching them in our topic if it is somewhat sensitive or crucial to the part of the process of our debate. Okay. Thirdly, ethics may be characterized by way people think of themselves and the self-implied measures for right behavior based on the personality or experience which guide them to various or appropriate behavior. Okay, so for instance, in informal debate, do not question your classmate when you are having debate. Just like our example a while ago, you are just merely to pick where or what stall you will be having your lunch, and then you have brought out things out of the context, such as his or her personal perspective of love. Okay, stating that love could be for all regardless of gender, and then you are attacking that idea or that belief by that person, or maybe of the religion. Why do you believe like this and like that? Because of the fact that you are having informal debate. That's a no-no in debate. There is an ethics in debate. If there are things outside the corner of the concepts you are having the argument with or into, there's a need for you to consider those crucial aspects or parts of debate. Next, ethics can be constructed a general or universal set of values guiding a broader understanding about the human condition, born for philosophical commitment, constructs, and motives. Okay? Next, what is our goal when we are having our debates? Of course, says here, debates, therefore, question issues of right and wrong, including application of standards of ethics. There's a need for us. Doesn't mean that it's a debate. We are actually having a trouble in both sides, or we would like trouble to be in school in Senate. No. Debate, our goal in debate is that we look into some rightful aspects of the idea or topic, or we argue or agree if it's right or wrong. Okay, still observing our ethical professionalism, shall we say that. Okay, at times people also find themselves challenging with their own ethical standards. It is difficult to assume that just because of the debater, or just because the debater sees something to be unacceptable, then it is really is. Okay, take note of that. Doesn't mean that it's wrong to me, it's right to you. Doesn't mean also that it's right to you, it's wrong to me. Not everything you treat right are right. Okay, and not everything you treat wrong are wrong in a debate. Okay, so we are free to express our thoughts, especially if we have legal basis or backing ideas or back up ideas or concepts when we are having a debate. Assumptions lead to poor arguments and poor decision making. So don't ever tell or state in a debate, I think that is wrong because, for example, legalization of marijuana. I think that, do not say that. In my opinion, do not say that. So you should stick and firm when you state your argument in a debate. So I firmly believe that because, or I strongly believe that there should be a legalization brought about by law of marijuana, because according to Republic Act like that. So to make it firm, you should have legal basis. You should have read articles, just as I've said. You read and read based on what I have read in this book, and that based on this reference. Okay, those are examples. Do not give assumptions such as I think, I feel. Do not give all those things. We are not so subjective. We are we try to become objective. That's why we need to read lots, because we want to focus on different perspective on how we objectify those, or, or solidify the concept by means of objectifying them. And of course, there's a need for us to look into how we appeal when we are having our debate. For male, wear business attires. Of course, you avoid also loud colors. Should you wear a coat or tie, do not wear a tie that comes in a clashy or glaring color. Okay. You should be able to match your inner clothes and your outer clothes. Do not wear large ornaments. Your nails should be cut, hair well combed, and shoes neatly polished. For female speakers, we have here you wear business attire also that will make you look respectable. Take note of that. Do not wear color that are ostentatiously attractive. Very high-heeled shoe and flat shoe also should be avoided. Instead, wear heels that are manageable. For example, 1.5 or 1.5 to 2 inches. Makeup and jewelry should also be worn conservatively. So that's how you should appeal. That's how you dress yourself well when you shall be having a debate. Okay, that's all for the basics of debate. Okay, should there be questions and clarifications, you may post it as a prompt in our group page so that we could address all those things. Okay, if we still have time, we shall be having your debate or our debate in each of your classes. Okay, thank you so much for listening, and I hope that at least you know now the different skills and that you should imbibe to yourself so that you should be ready in a debate, and that you know how to apply the ethical considerations and the steps on doing a debate. That would be all, class, and thank you for listening. See you again next virtual meeting.